Hey y'all, I'm back again. I just wanted to come back on here again because in part one of the video that I uploaded about Mr. Toles and Hilary, I can't even remember the woman's name, but Hilary Mueller, I believe it is. There's some things in part one that I left out that I wanted to include in this video. Now, I had mentioned in the first video that I believe that Mrs. Mueller is a racist. Even if she's not a racist, even if there's not really any conclusive evidence that she's a racist, I don't think there's any denying that the woman is. I really don't even like to use this word to describe women, but it's undeniable that the woman is a troublemaker and a bitch. Her behavior in that video is, to me, reminiscent of some of the behavior of some of these extreme feminists and these social justice warriors who are easily offended by all things considered politically incorrect. A lot of these people who think the way that they do, whenever they don't get their way, or whenever they have a disagreement, a differing of opinion about something, a lot of times they'll resort to physical violence. Now, she didn't go as far as physically attacking De'Arion, but I'd say she came pretty close. Her behavior is probably even considered criminal. I would have to look it up and do some research, but I believe that her behavior constitutes maybe false imprisonment because she was preventing him from coming into a place where he had a right to be. And she's not law enforcement. She's not security. So it's like she's taking it upon herself to prevent him from coming into a building where he pays rent and where he has a right to be. Well, I think he let her off the hook easily. I saw a video interview where he was practically defending her, and he said he didn't want to harbor any ill will or resentment towards her or anger and hostility towards her for what she did. At first, after seeing the video of that incident, I was thinking that he should have called the police on her, but then when I thought about it, I said, well, maybe it's better that he didn't call the police, because a lot of times when the police get involved in a situation between a man and a woman, 9 times out of 10, they're going to take the side of the woman. Now, I don't think that's right, to be biased towards women automatically, because obviously women aren't perfect. Some women lie, they make shit up, and they do it intentionally to get someone in trouble and just to be vindictive and nasty. So no, I don't think it's right that police and people tend to usually side with women in disputes that involve men and women, a man against a woman. I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like some white women use the fact that they're white to their advantage. They're white and they're female to their advantage. Like, this is a different situation, but an example of someone thinking that they have a right, a white woman thinking that she has a right to say and do whatever she wants to people, is when Lindsay Lohan went over into Russia and she encountered this couple with their children, and she got into some type of verbal dispute with them about something. I don't even know what it was they were even arguing about, but she started accusing the people of abusing their own children, and as far as we know, she doesn't know these people. They're strangers. They don't know her. They probably have no idea that she's a has-been celebrity in the United States. I don't know if she went over there thinking that she's the shit in that she has the same privileges in Russia that she has in the United States, but it backfired on her because she started accusing these people of abusing their children and other various wrongdoings. So I believe it was the mother of the children that hauled off and beat her up. And, you know, she was on a video talking about it and pretending to be a damn victim, when in actuality, she was aggressive. She overstepped her boundaries. And I don't condone violence, but she essentially brought the ass whooping on herself. She played the victim card, and I don't think too many people can side with her in a situation like that, because she provoked the couple to violence. But anyway, that's just an example of what I mean by, you know, some white women and maybe even women of other ethnicities think that they can use their femininity as a weapon or a tool against people, others, against men especially. Where was I? There was some other things that I wanted to say, but I kind of got off track when I started talking about Lindsay Lohan. Oh yeah, so I was talking before about how De'Arian Toles, at first I would believe that he should have called the police on her, and that he let her off the hook easily, which I still think he did let her off the hook easily. But now thinking about it, I understand why. I kind of have an understanding as to why he would not want to get the police involved, you know, because, come on, look at the incident of police-involved shootings where a black man ends up getting killed by white police officers. So I'm pretty sure he had that in mind when he made the decision not to call the police. But the thing is, she ended up, even after following this man all the way to his unit and seeing the man put his key into the door, turn it and enter and close the door behind him, she called the police on the man. So tell me that she wasn't looking to cause problems for that man by calling the police on him when she was clearly in the wrong. Tell me she wasn't trying to cause that man problems and get that man scarred and arrested. I'm thinking that what he probably should have done, if he didn't want to call the police, is to go down to the police station and file a police report, you know, file charges, try to get charges filed against her for what she did. Because you got to make an example out of people like that when they do cross the line and disrespect you in that manner. Because if the shoe was on the other foot and he had done it, I'm quite sure if the police were called on him, he would have been in jail. There has to be some kind of consequence to when people do wrong things. When people do things wrong, you got to hold them accountable. Otherwise, they're going to feel empowered to continue doing the same shit. Some people may not want to hear this, but there is a certain type of woman who will use her feminine prowess in order to manipulate law enforcement and the court system and the legal system. You know, and I'm talking about narcissistic, sociopathic, and very extremely manipulative and cunning women. They'll use the fact that they're a woman in order to get, you know, in order to finagle or finesse the police into believing their story. So, for all we know, had he called the police, she could have easily flipped the script on them and accused him of wrongdoing. So it's a good thing that he did record that incident, because he could have ended up either beaten, shot, or in jail for something that he didn't do, when in fact he was the victim. You know, there's a popular saying that there is power in the pussy, and that is so true. Women do have a lot more power than they know. some women have a lot more power than they truly realize, and I think it's because they haven't learned to fully harness that power and to use the power of being a woman or female to their advantage. Something else is that I think the reason why he didn't, although in the video he said that he would call the police on her, which, he told her that, and I think that was a wrong move. If he was going to do it, he should have just went on ahead and did it without telling her. She went on ahead and preempted him and called the police on him. So anyway, De'Arian probably is fully aware that white women have a lot of power in this country, and that a police officer would be more likely to believe her story coming from a white woman than they would to believe his side of the story without some evidence. He probably had that in mind when he decided not to call the police. And then I'm also thinking that one of the reasons why when he did that interview, basically, saying that he didn't want to harbor any resentment and ill will towards Mrs. Mueller is because, he's a businessman, and obviously, if he's a businessman, he's dealing with people from all walks of life, probably a lot of white people in high places who have wealth. So he has an image to uphold. He wants to maintain his image as a professional so that he can keep his dollars flowing. And so I don't blame him. In that respect, I can understand why he might not want to make that big of a deal about that incident, because, there was no physical harm to him. There was no financial harm or damage. Just, probably he suffered a minor annoyance. And I try to analyze and see things from different angles. So I think I understand why he did what he did, handle it the way that he did. And, like I said before, the man has class. It's obvious. Because if any other ghetto 5 person had been in that situation, or someone who just plain didn't give a fuck, didn't have any respect for women, they probably would have hauled off and slapped the shit out of her ass, or cussed her out, called her out of her name, and probably even called her a few racial slurs. He seems to be a well-bred young man who has class and is concerned about maintaining a level of dignity. There was something else I wanted to say. I had started watching a video by one of these so-called pro-black conscious people, and they were criticizing Mr. De'Arian for not going hard on Mrs. Mueller. And I couldn't even finish watching the video because they were calling him all types of names that were, names that pro-blacks like to call other blacks who don't go along with their program. Names like Coon and Uncle Tom, House Negro, typical terms that they like to use. But, they were criticizing him, and they were upset with him for not pressing charges against her for what she did, and they felt like that De'Arian did not take it seriously. That he was being discriminated against and that he was disrespected, and he didn't take it seriously. And basically, like, he was in so many words, it's almost as if they were implying that he was kissing up to the white man. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. De'Arian does not owe them an explanation for the way he chose to handle the situation. He handled it the way that he wanted to handle it. He handled that situation in the best way possible without causing any damage to his own reputation. And I don't blame him, because once again, he's a businessman, and to hell with what other people think when it comes to your money and your livelihood, you have to do what you have to do to protect your livelihood. He's not obligated to fight whatever perceived battle or war that these pro-blacks think that they have against the white man. He is in no way obligated to fight against racism, or he's not obligated to fight in their war against racism or discrimination. I mean, if he wants to get himself involved, then by all means get yourself involved. But here's the thing, a lot of these pro-black, conscious, so-called conscious Hotep type people, especially the ones that are on YouTube, making video and after video after video about racism, discrimination, police brutality, white supremacy, yada yada yada. What are they really doing to fight against white supremacy, racial discrimination, racism, and the whole 9 yards, other than uploading videos to YouTube and other social media platforms? They're just basically armchair activists, a lot of them. That's why I can't take them seriously. They're not, most of them aren't really doing anything tangible in the black community to make the black community better. But yet they want to sit up on YouTube and complain about what other black people in the news are and aren't doing. Worry about your own life instead of trying to control what other people are doing and trying to tell other people how they should behave from how they shouldn't behave. I feel like if they're not doing anything to make the black community or the black collective better other than running their mouths, then they have no right to tell someone what their course of action should be every time they run into a situation where there could be some racial discrimination or police brutality, or anything along those lines, where it's the black collective against the so-called white male-dominated establishment. They have no right to tell somebody what to do, what to say, how to act, whatever. Get your life together. Focus on yourself and your family and what you need to do for yourself and what your family, in order to make yourself and your family better, before you start telling other people and other people within the black community what to do. Chances are likely De'Arion doesn't give a shit what other people think of him anyhow. What they eat don't make him shit, and what he eat don't make them shit. That situation that occurred between De'Arion and Hilary, Brooke Mueller, has no direct bearing on their lives, so why should they really be so emotionally invested with what happened? As a matter of fact, that whole situation may not have really been as racially motivated as we think it is, and it could be another case of the media trying to race bait. So that's just some food for thought, and I'm going to end on that note. Thanks for listening. I'm out.